This is your host, Bruce Winters.
Thank you, Rhonda, and it's great to be back for another show. Just as a reminder, we are the first Friday of each month. You can find the Space Power show right here. We got a couple of great guests. I won't spoil it for you, but we've got some very exciting and interesting guests today. But I want to do just a little bit of space news, just so you have a sense of what's going on. I was just looking out there. The Space Force has just had the first bilateral space launch effort. This cooperative effort focused on national security, and the first of two launches cooperatively between the U.S. and Japan happened on February the 2nd, so just a few days ago. And the Space Force in Korea holds the first Polaris Hammer, and that's a space warfighter inclusive command and control exercise in coordination with the U.S. Space Force 392nd Combat Training Squadron in Colorado Springs. So, pardon me, lots of things going on in different parts of the world. And I should welcome everybody from different parts of the world. I know people listen in from all over the world on this. So wherever you're listening in from, whatever time of day or night it is, thank you. We enjoy doing this show, and hopefully you get something from it. A little bit more news. The Space Power, a little bit self-serving news, I'll just be honest about that. Space Power, the Space Force Association has the latest Space Power magazine out. It looks like this. And it is great. You can find it on the website. And there's a great little PDF flip book that you can just flip through it on the website, which I absolutely love. But there's a couple articles that I really wanted to highlight from a news perspective. One is the U.S. Space Command. There's an article featuring General Whiting, where he talks about adapting to modern threats in the space domain. Very informative article. I highly recommend it to you. And then there's one called Small Launch, Big Impact. Teamwork and Innovation with Lieutenant Colonel Steve Hendershot. And that one is written by my friend Marty Amon, who is the SFA Florida chapter president. So another great article. And then finally, I'll highlight one by Sierra Pollard, who is our Volunteer of the Month. So you may or may not know this, but the Space Force Association depends on volunteers. And Sierra is the Volunteer of the Month. So congratulations to Sierra for that. But she wrote an article highlighting Samantha Combo Weeks, talking about breaking barriers in aviation and space exploration. I will highlight that one to you as well. And then there's another one, just a column written by one of our guests, but I'll save that for when I speak with her. So that's a little bit of space news for you. But let's turn to our first guest. So our first guest is Rob Matrevsky. He is the Vice President and General Manager of the Spectral Solutions Division of L3Harris Technologies. Spectral Solutions does end-to-end mission solutions for the government, the U.S. government, and international customers. They support a large range of environmental and national security missions. Rob assumed this position in 2018. He's responsible for all of the P&L, big responsibility for that division. And just a little bit about L3Harris. They are an $18 billion annual revenue company, about 48,000 employees, customers in more than 100 countries. So Rob, welcome to the Space Power Show.
Thanks for having me on, Bruce. Really appreciate it.
You bet. You and I had a chance to chat just a little bit before, but I want to dive in. I always love, you've had a storied career in space and in technology, and we'll get into some of that, but I'm always interested in how things start out. So I did a little bit of stalking of you on your LinkedIn profile out there, and it seems you went to the University of Michigan, and you're an electrical engineer. So how did you get to Michigan? Is that did you grow up in Michigan? What's the background?
No, actually, I grew up in Indiana. Michigan was always a great engineering school, and I chose from, I think, a number of schools that are actually very close to Indiana. There's several top-rated engineering schools in the Midwest, and Michigan was the one I picked. No regrets.
No regrets, all right. So electrical engineering. So as an electrical engineer myself, I know that's not something you just fall into. Why electrical engineering?
Oh, I was always very good on the technical part of things growing up. always doodling some things, drawings. Math brain seemed to work well, and electrical engineering seemed to be an area of interest for me. So again, I really happy I did that. As a background, it's really helped me throughout my career.
Yeah, that's excellent stuff. Yeah, that's a challenging one at college, one of the tough ones. So any challenge, I remember challenging classes for me. Any classes you liked or didn't like?
Oh, I thought the most challenging ones were the microcircuits, circuit analysis ones. Really like the optics classes, which have come in pretty handy here in the line of work that we do.
Yeah, excellent. So tell me a little bit started. So you're electrical, pardon me, you're electrical engineer. You've got a brand new degree, and then what's next?
Well, I actually interned for a company called ITT, which is a derivative of where we are now, and just found it fascinating that it had come from a long legacy of innovation. And the people that I worked with as an intern were fantastic, taught me a lot, had that really optimistic can-do attitude about customer missions and solving their hardest problems, and I thought I could really fit in well with that sort of culture.
Yeah, and then so from ITT, that's a long pathway to Spectral Solutions. How does that look like?
Yeah, well, took a job with ITT, worked in tactical communications for a long while, both domestically and internationally. Had the opportunity to move into space about halfway through the career, and saw it as a great step. I'd always been I would say, a space nerd growing up. Missions of interest. What we did was really relevant to the nation, and worked my way towards space, engineering, manufacturing, program management backgrounds in the past, and now into P&L leadership. So really, really cool trajectory for me.
Yeah, that is. And always in Indiana?
No, sort of all over. I've had responsibilities in Indiana, responsibilities in New York State, Florida, some in England earlier in my career, but have looped back to Indiana here with some of, I would say, the first of firsts sort of capabilities that we've been doing recently.
Interesting stuff. Um, so you run the Spectral Solutions division of L3 Harris Technologies. And you were telling me the company has kind of a unique past. And honestly, I had to Google it because I wasn't sure I believed you. But tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this part of the company, obviously L3 Harris is made up of quite a few um, mergers and acquisitions. This part of the company started off as a phonograph and radio company in the late 1920s and the late 1930s. The man who invented television, Philo Farnsworth, bought this company and continued to innovate in groundbreaking technology, invented the video camera as an offshoot of the television. At some point, we decided that it would be interesting to put a video camera derivative into space. So soon after Sputnik in the early 1960s, we got into the space business, monitoring weather from space with a derivative of some of Philo Farnsworth's inventions and prior work.
That's pretty interesting. I thought I knew a lot about technology, but I had never heard the name Philo Farnsworth. So that's interesting. So now, that was a facility that's been there in Fort Wayne. I mean, that's kind of been the home for this the entire time.
It has, yeah. I mean, certainly we're in new facility, new space here subsequently, but yeah, it's been here in Fort Wayne as a national asset for many, many decades.
Interesting stuff. Um, hey, so tell us a little bit about what you do these days, or
Yeah.
as a company, and also just a little bit about you lead the team, but give us an idea of what a day in the life of Rob is like.
Sure. Yeah, what I do and the type of business we do, as I said, we're pioneers in monitoring weather from space. We still do that. It's been our core for a long time, about 65 years now. We develop and build the most advanced instruments that are launched to monitor weather from space, both in geostationary orbit, but also in low Earth orbit. We build imagers which tell you what is going on in real time. We build sounders which tell you what's about to happen and inform the numerical weather prediction models. So that's on the weather side, and we continue to do that with current generation and next generation capabilities now. About 5 years ago, we decided that the things we were looking at from our weather instruments could lend themselves very well to the missile defense mission, which had some unmet needs, particularly with hypersonic and ballistic tracking, all the way to sort of an intercept quality of data. And we thought that our infrared capability in the real time would be really good to lend to that mission. And we looked at it as a disruptor. Having not been in that business before, we could look from a side and say, wow, the way we would solve this mission might be different than sort of the insiders, the incumbents. But we think we have something novel and innovative, which is exactly what this company has grown up being, is novel and innovative. We got the attention of a few customers, Missile Defense Agency, Space Development Agency, which was a new organization then. They gave us a chance to demonstrate, and now we're into building out an operational constellation for our nation, not only in missile defense, but also supporting our civil weather customers. So been really fulfilling for us.
Yeah, is that the picture behind you of the launch? Is that related to that?
Yeah, here it is. A year next week, next Friday will be a year since that launch. Those were our first 5 missile defense space vehicles that we launched, now operating in low Earth orbit and bringing some really fantastic capability to the nation. So yeah,
that's exciting stuff. Tough duty to come to Florida was that Florida or was that Vandenberg?
This one was in Florida.
Yeah, yeah. Coming to Florida in February, that's not tough duty right there. Hey, so tell me a little bit about, you're talking about on the civil weather side, how the solutions that you got kind of inform the weather. I'm not even sure what it is, the weather services. How does that whole thing fit together?
Yeah, that's right. So National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration has a set of needs through the National Weather Service, their operational needs. They not only support our nation's citizens, and you see some of that output through weather apps, right? So the weather apps don't actually have the source data. The source data comes from a number of different sources, including instruments that are on satellites, right? That we provide. And what happens is NOAA develops an architecture. NOAA, in partnership with NASA, sometimes will acquire capabilities in accordance with the data needs that exist in that architecture. So we tend to be very good at imaging, and we tend to be very good at infrared sounding. Again, imaging is, think of it as your sort of camera or video, right? You get real-time feeds of severe weather tracks like tornadoes, and you get flash floods, and you get hurricane tracks that you can see very clearly. Everything about severe storm monitoring and severe storm data that's in the real time. Sounders, on the other hand, rather than telling you what you're seeing now, tell you what you're about to see, right? So they take thousands of three-dimensional slices of the atmosphere. They measure moisture, pressure, and temperature, and then they feed that into a big numerical weather prediction model, and it tells you exactly what the chances of rain or different sort of weather are based on that numerical weather prediction.
So that's interesting. How do
Yeah.
so and that's from space. So you're doing predictions from space, and so you have the ability to go to different levels in the atmosphere and kind of image what's going on. And from that, I assume NOAA or whoever has all kinds of algorithms that are predictive.
Exactly. The model is on the ground, so we drop the data from space to the ground, and the model ingests that information and creates an output from it. And that's used by both our civil agencies, our citizens, but it's also used by the military for planning purposes, right, et cetera, right? So it helps broadly our entire national infrastructure.
That's interesting stuff. Um, yeah, that's real interesting stuff. Now, you had mentioned to me too that there are a lot of, and this folds right in. So that's just to clarify in my mind, that's the sounder, that's the predictive stuff. Is that what you call the sounder?
The sounder is the predictive stuff. The imager is the real time. Here it is. Here's what's happening thing.
Gotcha. And are those like geosynchronous orbit? Or are they like closer and low Earth? Where do those image from?
Some of each, right? We currently have a geostationary imager on what's called the GOES-R series for NOAA they're in geo, they're imagers, they're the most advanced imager ever made. They still are the most advanced imagers ever made. They give you um, not only that severe weather, they give you wildfire monitoring too. So if you think about the Palisades fire in California, you'll know that our instruments have been monitoring that and providing real-time data to the National Weather Service, who then tells the first responders where hot spots are, where the fire's going, where it's spreading, et cetera, right? So there's 16 channels on that that give you different parts of the spectrum, tells you what's happening in real time. Sounders are currently in low Earth orbit with global revisit, right? But we're developing a geostationary sounder too for the Japanese currently, who's an established customer of ours. We're well into that development and manufacture of that geo sounder, which will give you persistent coverage from geo. If you think of geo, the satellites spin at exactly the same rate as the Earth, so they're persistently watching. And in low Earth orbit, they're spinning above the Earth and revisiting different parts of the Earth every 90 minutes or so. So the geo sounders will give you this, what's about to happen with persistence, and it'll give you a very near-term view of what's about to happen. You're about to have a flash flood. You're about to have a tornado within the next X minutes, which will be very, very useful to populations on Earth.
Yeah, that's exciting to work with those guys. You know, it occurs to me we might need some of that same sort of technology when we go to Mars.
Yeah, it's occurred to us as well.
Yeah, just need a rocket to get you there.
Huh,
I think Elon Musk might be working on that.
maybe
But
so.
yeah, that's yeah, gosh, when you think about it, honestly, you could do that anywhere, right? You could take it up to Jupiter and you could do the same sort of thing in Jupiter and kind of image what's going on in the atmosphere, however far down you go.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part for us is we've thought about other planets and weather on other planets, but truly the breakthrough for the nation for us was making a tie not from weather to weather, but from weather to missile defense, right? And so our DoD customer is really, really pleased with where we've gone from really taking a long-term view of one mission and applying it to another mission. And, we're demonstrating that currently. So,
Yeah, that's interesting stuff, Rob. We talked a little bit earlier too about some collaborations that you have. You do both international and and industry collaborations. I think you've touched on some of those. I think you mentioned the Japanese collaboration with a sounder, but maybe you'd like to highlight a couple of others.
Yeah, look, Japan and South Korea have been longtime customers of ours on the weather side. We've certainly been talking with Japan about their defense needs recently as well. You know, we have our nation's capability that has come as part of our work with Missile Defense Agency on HBTSS, the hypersonic and ballistic tracking space sensor work that we're doing, actually mentioned in the Iron Dome executive order, but also um, with South Korea on weather. Next gen weather capabilities are coming for them as well. We've got a really nice partnership there internationally, and I would say we're very deliberate about where our partnerships are with technology such as ours. And then, most of our other work is domestic, particularly on the missile defense side, but also on the weather side where we're, incumbents there with our civil customers for a long time.
Yeah. You mentioned the executive order. Honestly, until I researched it, I wasn't aware that there was one about Iron Dome missile defense system. Yeah. And how that relates to you. Obviously, I don't want to get into detail on it, but give me a little info about that executive order and really what it says and why you might be excited about it.
Sure. I think if you go off and read the executive order, it's really about protecting our homeland with a missile defense deterrent system. And our capabilities, I would say, position us very well to support those evolving needs of our nation and sort of the evolving threats of our adversaries. They are currently significant. Those evolving needs in sort of the threats are about hypersonic missiles, which are very fast, maneuverable, very dim and hard to track during the glide phase. And I think that combination creates a challenge for our nation. That's something that, again, our background in innovation has helped address. A year ago, we launched some of that capability to demonstrate our ability to warn and track against those sorts of capabilities of our adversaries. And the Iron Dome executive order goes one step further and says now go from sort of demonstration to an operational integrated system that can protect our nation. And I think it's well aligned with our capabilities. We're certainly well aligned with President Trump's administration and their vision of what they're trying to achieve there. And we're working with our customers to determine how to best fulfill what that executive order says we need to do.
Yeah, I think it only makes sense. You hear about that capabilities, in the context of other conversations, and it's good to hear about it in the context of this country. So that kind of leads me to the, I think about the team that you lead there. It's a fairly large group of people. And,
it is.
And do you actually is it engineering? Do you actually assemble stuff? I mean, tell me a little bit about the team. This is a chance to brag on the team a little bit.
Yeah, sure. We've got a great team in my business. We have about, almost 600 people here in Indiana. But my total team is over 2,000, spanning Florida, Colorado, New York State, Washington, D.C., Virginia area, among many others. We do a variety of things, but primarily we do develop, system architect those mission solutions that our customers want. We design them. We then order material according to that design. We use supply chain partners that have been working with us that we trust to drive capability where they excel. We bring it to our manufacturing facility, either here in Indiana, and we assemble, we integrate, we test, and then we deliver either payloads, instruments for some of our business, but full space vehicles using the capabilities of both our Indiana location and our Florida location to deliver space vehicles to launch. And it's pretty exciting. Team is exceptionally brilliant. They're very dedicated. They're customer and mission oriented. They like what they're doing. They see the relevance. We're in the protection business, is what we like to say. We protect our nation from natural and unnatural disasters, and we really enjoy that challenge of doing something that's never been done in the history of humankind and the face of the earth, right? And it brings us together, I think, as a team, as a family, trying to solve our nation's hardest needs. The nice thing is the company has seen that, our customers have seen that the company has invested a significant amount of money for infrastructure to build out the capacity that we knew our nation needed. So we're about to ribbon cut a new and renovated facility with almost 100,000 extra feet of manufacturing space here in Indiana as a payload center of excellence for both missile defense and weather applications. And then we're also almost ready to open a space vehicle integration facility in our Florida location that drives that scale that we knew we would need as a nation. So we invested ahead, and things like the Iron Dome executive order are really demonstrating that we made the right decisions early and invested as an industry ahead of what our customers were telling us at the time, but knowing that they would maybe need some help from us going forward. And I think the time's come when that help is needed, and we're here to serve.
Yeah, you guys clearly had your eye on where the future was going, where the ball was going, and that's absolutely everything that we heard at the Space Power Conference just a couple of months ago about the need to invest in industrial capacity and industry capacity, and so you guys are ahead of the curve on that. Hey, so you mentioned integration capabilities and payload processing, things like that. So I was thinking that you provided parts, kind of opticals and sensor parts for spacecraft, but it sounds like you do some integration as well.
Oh, for sure. So so we do full instruments, right? So it's full end-to-end capability, or full payloads, right? You connect power and an Ethernet cable to it, and it's data in and data out, right? So complete, integrated payloads and instruments. But we also build the entire space vehicle if our customer acquires that way. Typically, our civil customers have acquired at the instrument level. They know the instruments are where the mission actually happens. So they acquire the instruments directly from us. And our missile defense customers acquire the full space vehicle and often ask us to also operate the space vehicle after launch in space. So we can do the whole end-to-end mission and drive not only the right design, development, integration, test, and delivery, but also drive the right operational capability within our nation's needs. And that makes us I think pretty interesting as a company and as a business that I'm responsible for.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you can literally just say, hey, you just give me the rocket and we'll mount it on the rocket and off you go. Or if you just want the capability, here it is, and you could put it on, integrate into your own spacecraft.
That's right.
Quite comprehensive. I didn't realize that. So I got to ask you this, a little bit more of a fun question.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite place to go in your organization?
Oh, in my organization? Oh, gosh.
I'm
Uh,
asking you which of your children is the best? That's what I'm
no,
asking.
I'm not going to answer that. You hear me? Look, I did not mind going to Florida earlier this week when it was like 77, 78, while we were having an ice storm in Indiana, right? Did not mind that.
Yeah.
Um, in the middle of August, though, when I go to Florida and, I go there in my suit jacket and it's kind of uncomfortable, then I might prefer to be up in the Midwest a little more. But look, everybody's got their special capability. I think, we come from a number of different legacies within L3 Harris, and what's really cool is that we each have a legacy of something we do really well. So our missile defense solutions, for example, use building blocks of people that have excelled in certain parts of the mission, from Indiana, from Florida, from New York State, from California, from Colorado. And the neat thing is seeing all those individual capabilities get pulled together into an end-to-end system that works and is better than anything that's ever been flown before, right? And that makes you really happy when you can really think about your broader company capabilities and you can actually bring them together, not just talk about it, but actually bring them together to provide value to your government customer. Boy, there's nothing more sort of compelling than that, I think, right? And so visiting all those places that have those capabilities that are unique to us that you can bring together, that part's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's got to be very satisfying. And seeing launches like the picture that one in the back. So I mean, knowing that your work, your team's work is going up, that's got to be super satisfying. That's amazing stuff. Hey, let me ask you this. Let me switch topics just a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit of a retrospective. So, um, you were at the Space Power Conference, the
Yes.
Space Force Association put on in December, and you had a session there, actually.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about I know my take on the Space Power Conference, but I'm curious your take, kind of some things that stood out to you, some unique or positive things. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love seeing all the Guardians there, right? It's usually um, more limited when you go to conferences where you don't see a lot of the users, right? You don't see a lot of the people that are right in the line of it, right? And I thought seeing all the Guardians there, that always puts a real fine point in why you're doing what you're doing, right? So I thought that was really positive. I thought the broad attendance of our customer set and the DoD was awesome. We got to talk to a lot of senior leaders, and we got to talk all the way down, like I said, to sort of every level of the Guardians there. The panel discussions, the level of leadership that spoke and gave us their vision was exceptional. Sidebar meetings that we got to have because they were there, exceptional. Obviously, you get to meet people that you need to catch up with anyway, not only in your customer community, but within your sort of industry. And that was really cool too. And, in Orlando, a convenient spot for us compared to our headquarters site. So, we had good amount of attendance there. That was logistically easy. So lot of really, I would say, a great experience that we had there.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. You're probably used to this, but I'll ask you anyway. So, what's it like stepping up on that stage in front of a couple thousand people up there? I mean, what are your thoughts when you do that?
You get used to it, right? I think, look, it can be, I think it can be sort of scary if you let it. I don't think I let it get scary anymore. I think the reason you ask us up there is because we might know something about the topic, right? And so that's the way to think about it is, boy, there's a reason they asked us up there is because we know something about the subject matter, and it's our responsibility to share that and try to make sure that our nation is better for it by sharing with each other in the industry and with our customers. So I find it interesting, and I find it interesting to watch the audience reaction, the questions, um, co-panelists interact in that sort of example. But we should all see it as a way to, I think, learn more not only from the seat up on stage, but from the audience's standpoint too.
Yeah, yeah, excellent stuff. Hey, one last question for you, Rob. So, you've had the foresight to see kind of what's coming from a global perspective. Um, what does that mean for your organization in the next couple of years? What are you thinking? What's in the mind of Rob for Spectral Solutions?
Yeah, it's what you just said. It's really thinking about um, how to anticipate what our next set of needs is, right? And that could be right in our wheelhouse of weather, right in our wheelhouse of missile defense, um, in thinking of, okay, how is the threat going to evolve? What do we need to invest in today? How do we need to position our capabilities going forward? Or it could be as simple as um, thinking about it as, wow, we took our weather legacy and ported it to missile defense and helped the customer with a background, a capability that came from years of experience and looking at the problem in a different way. Similarly, we're taking what we're learning on missile defense and now talking to our civil weather customer and saying, we learned a lot on the missile defense side. We should really think about how to drive those advantages back into the civil side as well, right? So we're thinking about how to help customers based on not only single learnings, but sort of back and forth learnings, right? So I think that's another way. Third thing is, how do we make what we do that's innovative and fast and affordable even more so going forward so that our nation can afford more capabilities than they currently have in the face of an evolving threat. So how do we do that? We do that with building that scale that we talked about, but having a modern approach to space manufacturing that maybe used to be only reserved for high volume applications in other industries. How do you create a modern production approach to space that looks like it's paperless and drives a bunch of yield metrics that creates speed, that creates predictability, that doesn't let supply chain lines go cold and then warm up again and create uncertainty, right? You want to create certainty into the output. And I think that's another great way of looking at things as well. So there's lots of things on our mind about the future and getting better and more effective at what we do.
Well, it's easy to see the passion and why your company's prospering. So, Rob Matrevsky, Vice President, General Manager of the Spectral Solutions Division of L3 Harris Technologies. Rob, thank you so much. Appreciate your partnership and thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for your time, Bruce. I really appreciated it.
Yep. Well, I wish you many launches and warm weather up there in Fort Wayne.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Our next our next guest, I'm super excited about this as well. We have Sophia Skiba. She is in charge of our Space Professional Society, which is a group of young professionals and students who are excited about space and the mission of the Space Force. And I'm sure we'll get a little bit more detail from Sophia Skiba, but let's just welcome, and she tells me she goes by Skiba. So Skiba, welcome to the show.
Howdy, howdy. I am so excited to be here. And I loved listening to all of that information. I love hearing about how industry and Space Force are slowly becoming more interconnected. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And hey, so tell us, we'll dive into the Space Professional Society here in a bit. But I want to hear a little bit more about you. And so you go by Skiba, not
Yeah.
Sophia. So there's a story there. So I got to know what the story is.
Yeah, so I have a lot of family pride. Skiba is also just a really cool name. But yes, I have a lot of family pride, a lot of really cool ancestry. And I mean, and our family crest, it says our like mantra is Ditat ego per mare per terra, which means I enrich by land by sea. And I take that very seriously. And not a lot of people have as much outlined family history as I do. And I just really love taking advantage of that.
All right, so Skiba it is. Now you told me also, so we should get a little background. So you're currently a student at Arizona State University. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yep. And you're studying astronomy.
Yes, I love space. And though I am sad that every time I tell someone I study astronomy, they respond without missing a beat. Oh, I love astrology too. What's your zodiac sign? Look, guys inside, but it's all right.
Yeah, yeah, that is funny. So what's your favorite class you've had so far?
So far, it's astrobiology, just learning about the conditions of how life comes to be on a planet and just trying to see if there's any life out there. I don't know
Yeah.
any life out there. Aliens, they freak me out.
Yeah, I think that's the $100,000 question. Is there life out there? So what have you learned? So I got to ask you, astrobiology. I did not expect that was one that would be right off the top. So how do you figure out if there's from your classes? How do you figure out if there's life out there?
Gonna be honest, a lot of it is like super theoretical because we just kind of don't know. We're not that advanced. But one thing is just simply like there's an issue with there's a greenhouse gas effect where our Earth has like a stable greenhouse effect. How much energy we soak in from the sun, we're able to release in a proper amounts where our planet doesn't overheat, but it also then doesn't freeze. And that's a lot of planets actually don't have that. Venus is a great example of a runaway greenhouse gas effect, where frankly it's a bajillion degrees on the planet. I mean, the Russians landed I think a lander down there, and it like melted within 10 minutes of touching down. So usually we can tell what it just by that if even there's going to be a chance of life or not.
Wow, interesting stuff. Hey, you told me something else when we were talking too. You said that you actually have a twin.
Yes, indeed.
So how do we know that we're talking to the real Skiba and not the twin Skiba?
I have perfect vision. My twin did not inherit that.
Oh, okay. So if we see you pop on some glasses, we know we're talking to the wrong Skiba.
Precisely.
Gotcha. Hey, give us a little bit of your background. So we know you're a student there at ASU, but tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'm an Arizona native. I love Arizona. I love the desert, and I've always loved space. How I got into being interested with the Space Force was around 2020. I saw that it got announced, and at first I wasn't interested, but then I saw this advertisement that said, "What if your purpose is not on this planet?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I need to know more. Tell me, Space Force." But every time I looked up Space Force for like the first 2 years, a show would come up, not related to the Space Force, but it just like mocked it, and I'd be so irrationally angry. But yeah, I love space. It's a never ending puzzle. There's always something more to figure out, and I do love helping humanity progress into the stars. I mean, it's cool. Everything about it is cool. Nothing's boring.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Um, so you were at the Space Power Conference as well.
Yeah.
So in December, and I'd love to get your thoughts on just kind of how it looked from your perspective. What
Well,
were some pluses and what things stood out to you?
Well, it always looks really pretty. I also went to the year before that. It's amazing. Like, just because I do recall, recall talking to other people, was that in as Guardians, and they were saying that one thing that's really cool is seeing all of the leadership there. Like, watching General Saltzman gets up on stage, that was crazy to me because, I mean, usually in other branches, you don't really see all of the leadership being able to be centered in one place, and seeing also all of the Guardians there, that really helped solidify the importance of the Space Force to me because they're no longer just an advertisement on my phone. They're here, they're real, and they have a lot to say. And also understanding you cannot like step a foot in space without bumping into industry or the Space Force. That is a take I never really thought about because usually, at least how it's presented in most schools and to most people, you have NASA up there, SpaceX, and then that's kind of it. And seeing just like how many different companies there are, how many different people are involved with space and are passionate is amazing. But also then understanding that it is becoming a war fighting domain and there's a ton of challenges that I'm really happy that we have a lot of really well-prepared people are able to stand up to those.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to go over to the showroom floor and
Yeah.
see all that?
It was really cool. It's really sweet, and I love how you're able to interact with the people who are actually over those things. It's not just like some recruiter. It's someone who is personally involved with this, and usually in a leadership position. They're able to tell you everything. All my questions were always answered.
Yeah. Nice. So you remember General Saltzman? You remember some others?
Yes, I know there's a panel. I can't remember everyone specifically on it, but I know there was a lady named Dr. Melissa Patton who was on it. She's over STEM and youth, and then another man. I'm pretty sure that his first name is Andrew, but he's Dr. Aldrin, and they were doing an academic discussion panel about why it's so important to get academia more involved with not just space but also with the Space Force, and that was one of my favorite panels to hear because it's again, space has always been a very far off thing. Most people, when they think of space, they think of NASA and that's it. But then hearing people want to actively integrate space into what is that, the classroom, whether that's college level or high school, is really awesome. And I'm glad because people need to be more aware of space because it impacts every single one of us.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you had a chance, if I'm not mistaken, on the last day to introduce our President and CEO, Bill Wolf, to step up on the stage and give an introduction to him. So, what was that like for you?
It was really exciting. One thing that I will forever harp on about when it comes to SFA is their ability to enable people to be actually involved and actually make an impact. For me, getting up on stage, even though it was just an introduction, it was super massive. Again, no other, I've been a part of like previous space programs and I'm involved with the student government at my college, but being able to step up there and actually speak to these people and have them see me and hear my name, that's crazy. And it makes me want to be even more involved with this organization because they actually allow people to do things. And I love that.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I know our CEO, Bill Wolf, really places a high value on volunteers. He really talks about that being the kind of the heart blood of the organization. Um, so you actually, I was just actually looking in the Space Power magazine. You actually have a little column in there at the current Space Power magazine, and I highly recommend folks check it out. There it is. Um, so it's kind of how you got involved with SFA. So tell me a little bit about that.
So it was through this, at the time I was in ROTC and this cadet had sent out like information about, hey, this thing called the Space Business Association is having like a little meeting and they're having a guest speaker. And I'm like, you know what, the logo looks cool and I like space, so I checked it out, and going to that meeting, it was very interesting because I know I have repeated this, but seeing the Space Force and industry be talked about in the same breath and at equal levels, not just like, oh yeah, we're focused on industry and sometimes I guess contract with the government, but seeing them on equal levels was really cool. And it's just, yeah, it was nice. And I was very motivated. And then having Hippie was there, he was the one who spoke, and he very much, he speaks very vividly, and it's a lot of fun to watch him present. But him stopping by and coming just to talk to a classroom full of like a handful of students about this, it was cool because he understands the importance of not only getting, the big dogs involved, but also of coming to the future space professionals and wanting them to understand the importance of the space domain. So yeah, and then we started talking and he was like, I want you, I have this little program I want you to run. Would you want to do that? I said, yeah. He said, sweet. I'll see you soon. And then he like walked off and he sent me an email all about what is that, his plans. And I was like, holy cow, this is real. I'm actually getting involved. Wait, I can get involved here and now.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting stuff. That's exactly the way it works. So that's how you got rolling on the Space Professional Society. So tell us a little bit about the Space Professional Society. So what is it? Who's it for? Kind of how, what's the point of it and where's it going?
So before I say explicitly what it is, I'm going to talk about the need because, oh my goodness, there is such a need for it. So ever since 2020, when the Space Force was set up and the private space sector has been booming, the Space Force has, I think, doubled, possibly tripled its size since it was stood up. And now you can't, you walk a foot in space, you're going to run into a small private company's satellite. You step another way in space and you run into the big man himself, General Saltzman. There's no way to move in space without interacting with one or the other. And the companies are cut off in this, but so far, I've searched and scoured the internet for space programs that unify this mindset, but there's none. Most of the space clubs, they're only tied to they are only care about the industry, which is cool, but again, you need the Space Force, and anything related to the Space Force doesn't talk about industry. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of the clubs that are related to the Space Force, it's mostly Air Force with a little bit of Space Force, and that's unacceptable because these are two prominent players within the space domain that work together. And that's why SBS, or Space Professional Society, is so important, because our mission statement is to empower students within the space domain through exposure and involvement within the United States Space Force and industry. We're focused on letting all college students, and even if you're not signed at a specific college, you can still come to the Space Professional Society and learn about what the space domain is, but also be involved. And
Yeah, that's yeah, it's exciting. And I was just actually looking on the SFA website and just kind of reading through how to get involved. And I see your emails up there, and there's you can join, the SFA organization and be a volunteer as you can testify. You can volunteer and do just about anything that needs to be done. So,
oh yeah, yeah.
So that's yeah.
There's currently 3 chapters in existence right now. Central Arizona. There's one at Texas AMU, and also we have one that's being set up in Florida right now. And this is a great opportunity because we need people, and we're willing to take any passionate student. And this is a great opportunity for students to be involved and make an impact without needing to have like some high connections or money or like some nice master's degree.
Yeah, nice. So what do you do at like the local chapter there that you've got going? What are your thoughts or plans throughout the year for that chapter?
So during the autumn, the Central Arizona chapter was the only one set up, and I guess we met only like the day-to-day things is more so ran by what the students want to do. Like we met once every 3 weeks to explore different topics that were happening in the space sector. But this year we're ramping it up a lot. Uh, 2025 is all about growing skill sets through active learning. So that is going to be seen through competitions and events. Currently, the Central Arizona chapter is collaborating with I-5 Space, the one at U of A, and we're going to be doing a STEM tools workshop so that students can come and see what these people who they're like, if they're going to become a guardian or if they're going to go into something aerospace, see what tools they're going to use and actually learn how they're implemented by professionals who are using these. And we do have a competition that will be related to the space operations, which is right now the focus of the Space Force. That'll be coming in the autumn. And yeah, so those are the big events that are happening. Day-to-day stuff, it's, as I said, more controlled by the students, like the Texas AMU chapter. They're going to be starting their first meetings in March. And I guess I won't steal their thunder, but they have a lot of exciting stuff planned, and I'm really for them.
Yeah, love to hear that. Love to hear some things going on in Florida. That's down in my neck of the woods too. So,
Yeah.
Let me know if I can help out with that.
Oh, I'm real excited about Florida. You guys have so many space-related things. I'm so jealous. The other day I saw that the Florida chapter had a meeting, and their backdrop was a SpaceX launch.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
It is pretty exciting, and never take it for granted down here. That's for sure. So we got so Space Professional Society. I'm excited about that, Skiba. It's going to be good this year, and super excited that you're leading the team there. But I got to ask some questions about you. So astronomy. So fast forward to the end of you know, congratulations, you got the graduation cap on, you throw it up in the air. What's next for Skiba? What would where are you headed off to?
So the goal is actually to go from civilian to officer training school in the Space Force, particularly within space operations. I love what is that? I love space, and also I like the morals that the military has, and how it's more than just a workplace. How these, I mean, I know it's a bit over dramatic, but these are your sisters and brothers in arms. That's absolutely where I want to head. Anything to be involved with space, whether that's going on a spaceship or having 4 stars on my shoulders, anything.
Oh, okay. So you know the first Guardian was in space just recently, and so the doors open there. I'm sure they'll need some astronauts.
Oh, I hope so.
You'd sign up for that, huh?
Absolutely. I'd love to go to Mars, anything, anywhere.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Um, yeah, so I think those were the things I was hoping to get from you. So we got a recap. So super excited. You know, I had a chance to meet you at the Space Power Conference, and honestly, it was my first time meeting you, and I did not know much about the Space Professional Society, but you know, super excited that we've got, you know, the next generation of leaders is really what you're working with, you know, yourself and others.
Yes, because I mean, students, if we want to get students involved with space, we need to enable them to make an impact. I mean, that's why students join certain clubs or they go certain career paths because they want to do something important. And the Space Professional Society, it allows that, especially due with the backing of the Space Force Association. There's so many people within SFA and also more within the space community that are ready to help these students actually be involved and make an impact on space.
Yeah, yeah, excellent stuff. So coming up, let's see, you're right in the middle of a semester then,
Yes.
and what's so it's a Friday, so you don't have to actually go to class or anything. But what are the things that you're studying this semester?
So this semester, I guess it's literally just astronomy along with learning more about computer science, which I'm excited because then I can, what is that, start more knowingly integrating like stuff like computer science into some of the future events, like especially with since Space Force is all about cyber, all that jazz. Yeah.
Well, this is good stuff, Skiba. I really appreciate you taking the time and telling us a little bit about the Space Professional Society. I'm super excited that you're leading that part of SFA for us. And just as a reminder to anybody who's listening who wants to get involved, who is perhaps a college student or a young professional, you can get involved. It's easy to get involved with the Space Professional Society. Simply go to the website, and you'll see there's a drop down for the SPS. You can just pull that down, and Skiba's email is there. There are other ways to get in touch as well. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Skiba, for taking the time with us today.
Of course. We also have like a social media on LinkedIn and Instagram that's just under the Space Professional Society that people can reach us at and see what we do.
Okay, is that all they need to know, or some other details? Is it they get it off the website?
Oh yeah, they can go off the website or just search it up. I mean, so far to my knowledge, Space Professional Society is the only program with that name.
All right, perfect.
Well, that was
Thank
great,
you,
Bruce.
Skiba. Yeah, and Rhonda, I think we're going to hand it back over to you to the studio, and just to thank you to everyone who's watching and listening. We really appreciate it. Love to engage with everybody in all the different platforms that we've got going on. And in particular, we appreciate the partnership with industry. Just a shout out again to Rob Matrevsky from Spectral Solutions at L3 Harris Technologies. Thank you for joining the show today. And we will see you again, same time, same place next month.
Yeah, thank you, and be sure you tune in next month because Bruce Winters has a great show planned for you coming up in the every single month on the first Friday of the month at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Thank you for tuning in, and to all of our listeners and viewers around the world and on our military bases, because we have a lot of those folks listening. And so thank you for your service, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Thanks, Bruce. Bye-bye.